I wanted to thank you very much for coming to the first time ever men's forum at the El Paso Community College. It's the first time we've ever had a conference or a forum that I know of here at the college. So we're very excited to have these distinguished individuals here this morning, including our own president, Dr. Serrata. Just a little bit of information prior. We would like to make sure that each of you fill out the evaluations before you leave and place them over there at the exit where the turquoise table is. We also want to make sure that you have a program. So if you haven't picked up a program, please do so at the side or the back, or we'll make sure that you get one. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here this morning. These are very busy individuals, and they took time to come here and partake at El Paso Community College. We are also very lucky this morning to have our moderator, one of our own. He is an EPCC Assistant Speech Professor, Mr. Al Arvizo. Mr. Arvizo, if you would come up, I wanted to mention a little bit about Mr. Arvizo. He is, as I said, a graduate of the University of Texas at El Paso, where he got his master's in communication. That's why he was selected, because not only is he charismatic, but he is a communications person. He has assisted, he has a track record here at the community college. He's been here since 1999, and he has assisted us with our nationally top-rated forensic team. He has served on Young Scholars Bowl. He has served in our Hispanic Heritage Celebration Committee. He has been he served also as a Student Leadership Academy presenter, faculty advisor for the Student Communications Association Network, faculty advisor for the Honors Phi Theta Kappa, and he is planned and implemented the initial startup and operation of a first ever communications lab at the El Paso Community College. He is also involved in the initial planning phase of creating EPCC Scholarship Fund for first year students. He's basically has nothing to do, right, Al? So he said he would. Plus he's teaching, I think, 6 or 7 classes. So with that being said, I would like to thank him for being part of this and ask him if he would come up to introduce our speakers for the day. Thank you.
So let me introduce the panel, the members of the panel here to my left. And as she mentioned, there's things that I am involved in here at the school, but it doesn't compare to what these gentlemen have done in their lives. And that's one of the reasons why they were asked to be part of the panel, so they can share with the audience some of the things that they had to overcome when they were young men to reach the successful positions that they do have at this moment. So let me get started with Mr. Jacob Cintron, who is the gentleman that's sitting here second from the left right here. And I'm going to read off the bio here that you have in front of you. Mr. Cintron is a native of El Paso and a graduate of Burgess High School and UTEP. He's has been the CEO of the Sol Medical Center. He has a deep experience in the healthcare and is widely respected locally and nationally in the healthcare field. Former Sol Medical Center CEO, Mr. Cintron, was selected on Tuesday, July the 12th of last year, 2016, as a top executive for the University Medical Center of El Paso. He began his career at UMC, formerly known as Thomason Hospital, at a young age as an engineer and as an assistant administrator. He had served as CEO at Del Sol since 2006. The selection of El Paso Jacob Cintron as the next Chief Executive Officer of University Medical Center is an inspired choice that sends a positive message to the community. And that's one of the reasons one of the main things we want to get across here is how him being a local El Pasoan has reached the apex of a successful career. They view Mr. Cintron as well qualified for the job and argued that El Paso needed to do a better job of embracing and promoting homegrown talent. Mr. Cintron is qualified to lead almost any hospital in the nation. In this case, he has been chosen to lead an excellent hospital in this hometown. That is a great opportunity for Mr. Cintron and UMC. His key goals will be to help stabilize Children's Hospital as it emerges from bankruptcy protection, lead AMC through challenging changes in the healthcare ecosystem, and strengthening management relationships with UMC employees. We commend the UMC board for tapping El Paso talent to lead one of our most important institutions, and we congratulate Mr. Cinchon on his new position. Can you give him a round of welcoming applause, please? It sounds like my voice is vibrating. Is it good? Yeah, okay. Next person on the panel that I would like to introduce is Mr. Richard Dayup to the far end of the table. As you know, Mr. Dayup comes from a very well-known family that cares a lot of El Paso, and so does he. He is the president and the CEO of El Paso Chamber of Commerce. He began his career in the chamber in 2003 as the chief operating officer. In 2004, he assumed the position of president and was selected to be the chamber's president and CEO in 2007. Since 2004, Mr. Dayup has served on the Collaborative for Academic Excellence, a nationally recognized partnership headquartered at the University of Texas at El Paso, and chaired by its president, Dr. Diana Natalicio. In 2010, Mr. Dayup was honored by the El Paso Child Guidance Center as the guest of honor for a fundraiser roast for the community based on charitable organizations, and was honored as the Fort Bliss Citizen of the Year in 2009 for his work in the support of Fort Bliss soldiers and their families. He served as the chairman of the Texas Metro Chamber of Commerce, serving in that capacity for 2 years. And in 2010, he became an active member of the Metro Cities Council. Mr. Dayup is an ACCE Fellow for Education Attainment and received a Certified Chamber Executive designation in April of 2014. And his prior career, Dayup was the president and CEO of a large regional travel company for nearly 30 years. In that capacity, he oversaw the growth of the company that transformed from a small local operation with 10 employees to a company with 10 offices in 4 states and more than 100 employees. In that capacity, his company was recognized as the highest producing retailer in the Southwest by every major airline, tour, and cruise company in the country. Can you please give a warm applause and welcome to Mr. Richard Dayup. Moving along, I'd like to introduce our third member of the panel, Mr. Corey Bailey, right here to my left. Mr. Bailey is currently the director of the Student Engagement and Leadership Center at the University of Texas at El Paso. He earned both his bachelor's and master's degrees in special education at University of Maryland, College Park. Throughout his 17-year career, Mr. Corey has worked for several universities: UMBC, Towson University, University of Maryland College Park, Boise State University, and UTEP, where the majority of his responsibilities have included strategic planning, program development, and advising student organizations. He strongly believes involvement on a college campus is one of the keys to student success, both inside and outside of the classroom. In his current role at UTEP, Mr. Corey leads a team of Mr. Bailey leads a team of professionals and students who decide their time to promoting the principles of engagement, leadership, inclusion, and offering programs and services focused on enhancing the personal education, leadership, and social development of students enrolled on campus. Can you please give a warm round of applause for Mr. Bailey? And I'm saving the last presenter, of course, someone that we are very familiar with here in EPCC, our own president, Dr. Serrata. So just a few things that Dr. Serrata has done, just bear with me. Dr. Serrata was named the president of El Paso County Community College District effective August 1st, 2012. Dr. Serrata holds a bachelor's degree from Texas A&M at College Station. Go Aggies. A master's degree from the University of Texas at Brownsville, and a doctorate of philosophy and educational human resource development from Texas A&M University at College Station. Dr. Serrata comes to EPCC from South Texas College in McAllen, where he served as a vice president for student affairs and enrollment management for over 7 years. During his career, Dr. Serrata has provided enrollment management leadership and fostering enrollment growth, as as well as increases in student retention, dual credit enrollment, graduation rates with an emphasis on first generation Hispanic populations, and establishing a college-going culture. He has served on the Texas Workforce Education Leadership Committee and on the Executive Committee for the Texas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers. He has presented at numerous national conferences as well as state conferences on subjects including strategic enrollment management, student development, and the role of student affairs in facilitating student success. Can you please give a warm welcome to Dr. Serrata? So as you can see, we are honored with a very distinguished panel of guests who I hope will give us some insight in how to overcome some adversities that are faced by our male population. So to get started, there's three categories of questions that I would like to target today. And of course, starting with the personal, then I'm going to move on to a male perspective, and I'm going to finish off with the outlook of the future for our students. So starting with the personal, and I'm going to start with, of course, here to my far left, Mr. Edgar Dayu. And the first question that I will be posting to him is the following. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced on the pursuit of your academic and professional career? And how did you overcome those challenges?
So we're starting off with an easy question. Al, thank you.
Yeah, that is the easy one. They get harder after that.
It's actually a very good question, and I think it's particularly pertinent to the audience that we're talking to today. For me personally, the obstacles I faced as a young man were numerous and very much similar to what I suspect many of you, not all, but many of you face today. I came from a very much a working class, blue collar household. My dad worked in a steel mill, and to make ends meet, literally, after working all day in a steel mill, he would come home, and then in our garage, he would repair cars for local neighbors and charge them a small mechanics fee just to cover expenses for living. I didn't get a chance to go to college with a scholarship. I did get a chance through the GI Bill after I served, and then worked my way through college with parents who, neither of whom were educated formally. My dad spoke 5 languages, but was not formally educated in the United States. My mother spoke 2 languages, and together they simply encouraged my brothers and sisters and I to pursue a better life, but were unable to help us financially. And so that was maybe the first of the most significant, most visible obstacles that we all face. Here you are today, having the great opportunity to go to a community college. That wasn't an opportunity available to me where I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. So it was basically all in. You either went on to a university, or you went to a trade school, or you did none of the above and tried to pursue a career with just a high school diploma. Overcoming those, I think I come under that heading of God looks after those who are unable to look after themselves. And I mean that quite sincerely. I was lost in space. If it hadn't been for the military and the discipline I got out of it, I don't know where I would have ultimately gone. But I ended up in El Paso and went to UTEP. And I had some great opportunities that came about from there, but mostly because perseverance is the word I would offer. Every single one of us, I mean all of you and all of us up on the panel, have faced adversity and will continue throughout our lives to face adversity, not just in college. And it's how you deal with those situations that really determines your stock. You know, you have a choice. You can either run and hide, or you can face those obstacles, overcome them, and then see where you go from there.
Thank you very much. I'm going to pose the same question to Mr. Citrone, and I will repeat the question one more time. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced on the pursuit of your academic and professional career, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, I grew up here locally near Thomason Hospital on Delta and Valverde Street, and my mother was a single parent, was the oldest of three, and she didn't make a lot of money, but she worked hard, and she taught in us, she and my grandmother, a strong work ethic. When I was in high school, I took distributive education so that I could work part-time because the family needed help, and that was an expectation. So I was never planning on going to college. When I was working at Thomason, as it was then known, as a part-time student while I was going to school, in high school, I was really planning on just, trying to learn a skill in drafting so that I could draw plans, and the goal was that either that or construction, that's what I was going to do. Never held any ideas or dreams of owning a home or buying a new car. We didn't even have a car in our family until I was a junior in high school. But what happened is, when I was, in my 20s, early 20s, at 22, I was married, and I realized that I really didn't have anything to fall back on should something happen. And when you start thinking of the potential of children and being able to provide, that created almost like an anxiety attack for me, and that's when I decided to go to college. So I started going to college at UTEP, and all my friends from high school had already graduated. And I was working full-time and married, and so really, for me, it wasn't the nice college campus life. As soon as I worked, I would go home and study or go to school. I had an administrator at Thomason at the time, an individual named John Stinson, who told me I needed to go to college, and I didn't think I could. And he was very good to me in encouraging me to go and allow me to work my work schedule in a way that would allow me to go. And I didn't have the money, and so we had to save up and pay. And so it really is a crimp in the kind of life you lead, but it offered me an opportunity for hope. And so, when you look at things like that in terms of the financial, the personal, I did not believe that I would have any kind of potential. Even today, the position I hold is one that exceeded whatever I had ever thought I would accomplish. And so all I would say to anybody listening is that, never give up on a dream, never feel that you're not good enough, never feel that there's no way out. In this country, there is no reason why anyone cannot be whatever it is they want to be, because this country offers great opportunity in that respect. And yes, it's hard, and I'm not going to lie to you, it is very hard. Many times, I'd go to bed at 2 in the morning, I'd have to get up and go to work the next day. Sometimes financially it was hard. I can't tell you how many times I ran out of gas. I had no money for gas going to UTEP. It was just difficult, but you continue slogging it. I was the oldest of three, and in our culture, you provide for your family first. There's a sense of duty to your family, to your mother, your siblings, and if you're married, certainly to your wife or husband. And there are things you just do. And all I would say is that it was hard. There were times when I thought, do I want to change it to something easier? But you stick with it, and you're able to overcome the things, whether it was financial. You find that you just focus on what you can. And sometimes I couldn't afford to go to school that semester, or I could only afford to take a class or two. Books were very expensive. So look for opportunities and programs that exist today that can help you advance. Never settle. Today your dream may be, I want to get an associate's degree. For some it might be, I want to get a high school degree. But once you attain that, then continue raising the bar. And always remember, you represent your family, and you represent your dreams and your aspirations. And that as you get older, the day will come that you'll have your own family, and you'll be having to set that example. And I've always believed that if the next generation can do better than the previous one, the family will survive. And so, yes, a lot of challenges. My mother didn't feel I needed college. At the time, most of my friends didn't think I needed college. Many didn't go to college. And so it was difficult, but you can do it. And sometimes, you can't count on other people telling you to do it. You have to, be that inner drive for yourself. Sometimes you'll find that there are mentors in places you least expect. And one day that all of you, as you continue to grow in your field and be successful, reach out and help others that are also in the predicament you were in, and encourage them. Be a mentor, be supportive. Don't just pat them on the back, but help them find jobs or help them with tutoring or making things available to them. Share your stories of how hard it was so they don't feel like they're alone, but they realize that they're following a path that you've already followed and others before you have followed so that you can attain your dreams.
Thank you very much. And as you can see, there's a central message to what these gentlemen are sharing with us. Something that I do like, that they're letting us know their upbringing was far from privileged. And in spite of that, you know, Mr. Dayup's upbringing in West Pennsylvania and Mr. Centron's upbringing in El Paso, they had to face struggles like most of our students do. And that's why I'm excited to have them here with us, because they can share their stories, and we can use that as an example to move forward ourselves. We're not the only ones that are struggling. We're not the only ones that are facing adversity, right? These gentlemen who are very successful now are doing that themselves. Thank you. Moving along, my next question is going to be for Mr. Bailey right here to my left, and it's still on the personal category. And this is the question, number 3, for those who have them in their hands. What do you believe are the essential characteristics needed to succeed professionally?
Well, thank you again for allowing me to be here. I actually wrote down some notes, hoping that you would ask that question, because I think it's a really important question to consider. My professional career, I have been given a lot of opportunities because of the people that I know. My networking opportunities started back in college, and so I took advantage of the cohorts within my academic classrooms. I took advantage of my personal relationships and maintained those relationships beyond my college career, because I knew at one point something or someone would pay off in the long run. So I'll give you an example. As an undergraduate, I worked on campus, which I encourage all of you to do if you have the opportunity. I worked on campus in an office where I was exposed to a number of individuals working in the field of student affairs. At the time, I had no idea what student affairs was about, but I knew I needed a job, so they had a front desk job, and I took it. Well, through that opportunity, I met a gentleman named Matt Supple. And Matt Supple was an advisor for fraternities on our campus. And throughout my time in the office and in my own involvement in a fraternity, I got to know Matt really well. And Matt and I began to have lunch together. I eventually got to know him even more because I became a president of an organization, so I was exposed to him a lot. As the years went on, and I was a sophomore at the time that I took the job, as the years progressed, I got to a point where I had to make a decision. Either I went into a K-12 classroom, working with special needs students, or I decided to go to college. Go to graduate school, not college, because I was already there. Well, I made the decision to further my education, and I didn't have the funds to do that. And so Matt and I sat down one day over lunch, and he offered an opportunity for me to work in his office. Make a longer story short, that didn't necessarily work out, but he connected me to someone else at another university. And through that connection, I earned a graduate position at UMBC, which is one of the schools that I included in my profile. And I started working with fraternities and sororities, and as time went on, I made the decision to move from special education to higher education. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity had I not known Matt Supple. The other characteristic that I think is really essential is just basic knowledge. You need to know the university. You need to know the environment. I knew enough about the University of Maryland to get a job. I knew enough about the University of Maryland to get involved. And so that knowledge then started to open doors. And those doors, as I walked through them, brought me to this place in my career in terms of being a director. I also think an essential characteristic is courage. You got to take a chance. I grew up in Long Island, New York. I made the decision to leave home and go to another state, 2-3 states down, 4 hours away from my family. I knew no one at the University of Maryland. But I decided that it was worth taking the chance because you never know what could happen. Thankfully, I did, because then I met the Matt Supples of the world and others that I could credit in terms of my success. And so through that courageous act simply of leaving home and taking a chance and going to a university where no one knew me, I knew no one else, I didn't even know the state very well, I was afforded a lot of the opportunities that I have today.
Thank you very much. I always tell my students, what is life all about? And I think I train into respond relationships. So I'm very happy that you mentioned that right in the beginning, right? I think it's crucial that we foster relationships to move forward. I'm going to pose the same question to our own Dr. Serrata. So allow me to repeat the question one more time. What do you believe are the essential characteristics needed to succeed professionally?
Well, good morning, and thank you so much for being here. Let me thank these three gentlemen who are extremely busy for sharing their time with us. Let me assure them we're taping this as well, and we will provide this to the greater student population. Kudos to Mrs. Chavez and the Diversity Committee, Mr. Arvizo, for moderating this session. So a couple of things that I'd like to begin with. I'm glad to see that there is young men in the audience, and I'm glad that we're having something on males. I think it's vastly important, and the data is very clear that this is the subpopulation of our society that needs to increase the educational attainment level more than any other. I think it's vastly important. Now let me be a little self-deprecating. It's always important to know which photo people are going to use, so you don't wear the same tie that you're in your photo. Yes, this is the same tie, so you know that I've had this tie for at least 5 years, because that photo was taken 5 years ago. So that's the first thing. Don't tell my wife, please, any of you all. I'll be in trouble for that as well. A couple of things with regards to when we're looking at the personal characteristics. From my perspective, one of the main personal characteristics needed to succeed is, are you passionate about what you do? I'm not as, you know, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, then it feels like work. If you're passionate about what you do, then every day is a new adventure. It's not work. And so Mr. Bailey and I were just discussing, I had the good fortune of doing a presentation at UTEP last week, and I started the presentation with something that resonated for me, and I don't take credit. I use the case method all the time, copy and steal everything, give them credit. And so I was watching a video that really resonated. So we all know what we do. Most of us know how we do it, but why do you do it? And that really, from my perspective, that's one of the most important pieces that you're looking at that's essential. And so the why we do it. So for me, why we do what we do at the institution is for the students that are in our audience. We're trying to increase the educational attainment level of this region because there's about an 85% correlation, almost a 1-to-1. So those of you that do research, when it's 100% correlation, that's a 1-to-1. It's not causal, but there's obviously a relationship. So 85% correlation between your educational attainment level and your income. And we're trying to make sure that we raise the income level of this community. It's vastly important from the chamber's perspective, from what we do at the college, UMC, UTEP. We're all in the business of people, of helping individuals get to where they want to be. So from my perspective, the first one is passion. Are you passionate about what you're studying? Are you passionate about what your job is going to be? And if you are, then it doesn't feel like work. It feels like you get to do what you enjoy doing, and yes, you get to make a living by doing it. That's the first and foremost piece that I look at. The second piece is that I speak to is perseverance. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be things that come up along the way that are going to be, it's going to be a roadblock. And so when I studied, when I look at the young men of color, the young Latinos in the audience in particular, I studied you. That was my dissertation. And I followed up and said, every single student that goes to college or university faces barriers. Successful students learn how to navigate those barriers, get around them, and get to the finish line, whether that's the registration process, whether that's a first semester course, whether it's one of those math courses, you know, any of these pieces. So the successful student learns how to navigate those barriers. The unsuccessful student hits a barrier, can't figure it out, and drops out. And we want less and less of those unsuccessful. We don't want any of those. And so perseverance. You're going to face roadblocks. Persevere. Ask for help. I know for us, I wasn't born and raised in El Paso. I'm from South Texas, but the same culture, right on the border. It feels like a weakness to ask for help. It's not, okay? So what I'd say is we don't like to ask for help, but we're good consumers. We want to get the most out of every dollar that we spend. So what I tell students, male and female, all the services that the college offers, you paid for through your tuition and fees, whether you're on financial aid or not. You already paid for it. So you're not asking for help. You're getting the best money, you're getting the best out of the resources you already put into the institution. Ask your faculty. Go to the Learning Resource Center. Go to the library. Form study groups together. It is vastly important that you take advantage of these resources that are here for you. And so I would say first be passionate about what you're going to do and then persevere, because you're going to face obstacles. It's part of the process. Successful students figure out how to get past those obstacles. Unsuccessful students fall out. Don't. We need you all to be successful.
And Dr. Serrata's response lends itself well to a segue to the next question I'm going to pose. And I'm moving on to the different category now. That was a personal perspective. I'm moving on to a male perspective here at EPCC. And this question I'm excited about because I think it really drives to the point, to the heart of our students here at EPCC. It's a lengthy question, so bear with me as I pose it. And I guess we're going to start, I'm going to make the rounds again, go with Mr. Dayu. And I'm thinking that I'm going to have all four of the members attack this question, right? Tackle this one here. So here we go. What can EPCC, the male population, do to overcome certain facets that are prevalent in their lives that can prevent them from achieving academic success? Which is something that Dr. Serrata was alluding to. And these are some of the examples for that question. Being first-generation American, or being first to go to college in the family, facing low socioeconomic factors that perhaps are prevalent here in the border community, pressured by the Latino culture stereotypes, and apathy that many students might have towards a college education, higher education, and embracing that education. So if Mr. Day, you can maybe give us his input on that first question.
It's a very difficult question. I'm glad all four of us will be responding. I'm fairly certain you'll get four different perspectives with regard to this. So if I understand the question correctly, it's because where we live and because of the challenges that our students face, particularly the males, but male and female alike, with regard to their station in life, the challenges in getting their education, how to overcome those. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Again, I think I can relate to this on a very personal level. So you basically have, that's the great thing about living in a democracy. You have choices. And I don't say this to be flip, but think about, especially in this world we live in today, all the places across the globe where options are not available to you. In many governments, you're actually told what disciplines you will study, in China in particular, based on your acumen, based on your intellect, based on how well you've done in school. They determine for you what your pursuits will be. Going back to Dr. Serrata's earlier comment about passion, well, and how do you develop passion for something if it's not really what you want to pursue? So with that in mind, here we are in the U.S. with all these options available to us, which means there's an element of responsibility and accountability to you individually that you have to accept. Meaning, just to cut to the chase, you're going to decide for yourself what you're going to be in this life and who you're going to be. And you can either choose a pathway that is something you're passionate about and you're willing to overcome whatever obstacles are before you, or not. I had some choices to make as well growing up, coming from a blue-collar home. I could have chosen to accept the fact that my dad worked in a steel mill, and perhaps that was my lot in life to continue in that vein. I chose not to. I wanted a better life for myself. And so I began to do whatever it was I needed to do to prepare myself and pursue that effort with a lot of roadblocks along the way. And I want to tell you, most importantly, a lot of failure. A lot of failure in a bunch of different areas before I was able to find my line in life. And this sounds particularly corny, but I will add this too as well. There is an element, you can call it divine providence, you can call it luck, you can call it not being in control of your own destiny. But I will tell you, in my personal belief of faith, there are things that will happen in your life. There will be opportunities that will come before you. And you may not even recognize them as opportunities until later in life and you discovered, here's where I am. How did I get here? Preparation for that is critically important. If you're not prepared for the opportunities, then you're likely not to succeed in those areas. But if you look at my background, coming out of the service, what it doesn't indicate in my bio is that I studied drama and speech in college, but I went into business, and that's another story for a whole other conversation. How I got there, I think only the good Lord and I know. And then, after 30 plus years, I ended up running the Chamber of Commerce. Certainly never studied for that or prepared for it. And so here I am. Again, opening your mind to consideration for other opportunities. And then I will add something else to what Dr. Serrata said in terms of using the resources available to you. Find mentors in the disciplines you want to pursue. Ask questions of those people who've already demonstrated success in those areas and learn from them what their mistakes were, where the successes came from, and why so. And I'll leave the rest to our panel. Thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, even though this is a men's forum, I'm sure that the messages that our panel guests are sharing with us can pertain to all genders, not just the male-dominated one. Moving along, I'm going to, Mr. Centrone, I'm going to have him give his perspective on that question, and I'll go ahead and repeat it one more time. What can EPCC male population do to overcome certain facets that are prevalent in their lives that can prevent them sometimes from achieving academic success, such as first-generation Americans facing low socioeconomic status, the Latino culture stereotypes, apathy for higher education?
I would say that, first of all, I was a second-generation American. My mother was first generation along with her family. My grandmother came from Mexico. Her husband had died early on, and so she cleaned homes and worked at a bakery. And you learn the work value. You know, we are an honorable culture. We work hard. No matter where you put us, we work hard. And, you know, there are things that we are raised, I mean, never do anything wrong in your neighborhood and have somebody else's mom tell your mom, because you would have embarrassed the family and there would be a price to pay for that. So there's a lot of good things in our culture. Some of the challenges, though, might be, you know, I remember going to school and, you know, a lot of my friends weren't going to go to college. They're going to work in construction. They're going to work doing other things that were easy back then. And I'm an older person, so it used to be you could work on your car at home without needing any special tools. You could do a lot of things on your own without having to have the skill set. Even, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I used to love drawing plans for construction until it became computerized. And you're looking at a person that still to this day types with 2 fingers. So, you know, technology got ahead of me. And in today's life, technology is way ahead of us. And who knows what's on the horizon. So take the best of our culture and use that. If you're a first generation, second generation, third generation, Latino or Hispanic, male or female, forge the path. Be proud of what you are, because that is what made you what you are today. Everything you learned at home, everything that you learned, both good and bad, will make you a better person if you use it right. Don't find excuses as to why you're failing. Really, it's just a matter of how do you find opportunity. The thing that happened to me is I realized I was better than what I was doing at the time. I was working at Thomason Hospital, not only drawing plans, but they taught me a lot of things. They taught me how to drive stick. I was changing light bulbs, unstopping toilets. doing the least of the least, and I realized I was better than this. I had a better potential. And so there were a lot of people in my life that helped me, either with good ideas, good philosophies, actually helping me move into different positions, and it wasn't easy. And a lot of times I will tell you the path you took was not the one you expected. It just took you in a way you never thought or saw coming. And take advantage of it. Don't hold yourselves back. Don't be afraid of being held back because of some limitation that really you put on yourself. A lot of the people that helped me in terms of my growth, if I give you the names, most are not Hispanic. And that's a shame. We should be helping each other. And so when you look at a city that's the majority of us are Hispanic, we should be helping each other. Not to hold back, not to believe, well, I can't leave El Paso because this is where I'm from. You have to sometimes leave to come back. That's what I did. And you learn so much. We hold ourselves back in so many ways when we don't have to. You have to reach out. As Richard had mentioned, reach out and get mentors, have people help you and invest in yourself. Don't hold yourself back because of some culture. Don't hold yourself back because of some economic challenge. Work through it. The thing that I remember is that I want to be better for my family. I wanted to be better for my children, and I wanted them to reach up and to be able to be more successful. Because I really believe that if our family does well, we survive as a family. And so you represent your family. You represent your parents, your siblings. You're forging a path. Never, ever sell yourself short, ever. Never let anyone else sell you short. You can be anything you want if you apply yourself to it. And for us that are at this table and others that have made it to some form of success, our obligation is we have to help our own out. And our own are anybody, regardless of race, regardless of gender, anybody that encompasses that same spirit of wanting to be better. And that's what makes this country great. Higher education, again, I wasn't planning on going to college. I didn't think I needed college. I thought if I got my bachelor's, I was done. And I continued pursuing it because I grew to believe that anything I learn is an investment in me. There's training I'll get to do my job better, but anything I get for me, and college education was one form of that, was an investment in me. That was something I was giving to myself. So avoid those stereotypes, reach out, and learn that one day you will be a mentor, because I remember when I was trying to decide whether to go to college or not, I went to EPCC back when they were in barracks off of Dyer. And the day of registration. And they had overhead projectors, tells you how old I am, and they had numbers up there of classes that were closed and whatever. And so I never applied, never went through an interview of some sort. I just showed up. And I realized I was out of place. I went in my green overalls at my lunchtime, and people are running around registering for classes, and I didn't know who to talk to. And you know what I did? I stood there for about 45 minutes, couldn't get anyone, to help because they're all registering. I left. I wasn't, planning on going to school. And then something within me just said, I can't give up. So I could tell you there's so many paths we all took, so many ways that we would have wound up somewhere else but here. And so never fail to take a chance. Never fail to believe in yourself. Because if you believe in you, no one can stop you. And no one can take that away from you. And then when you get to a point where you are, at a point where you feel you can help others, help others. And it doesn't have to be someone from the neighborhood. It doesn't have to be someone, from of the same gender or even the same culture. We are a country of so many different cultures and the genders, and we have to help each other out in any way we can. I see all of you here, and I was one of you. Backpack, barely enough money to maybe get my lunch, and not sure what I was going to do. Sometimes thinking, this is really hard. Could I change to an easier major? And I stuck it out. That is a story for all of us. There is very few people that you'll find that were really provided everything, like a silver platter. It takes work. Be proud of the work you do. Be proud of the field you're studying. And as Dr. Serrata mentioned, have passion. believe in what you're doing, and if you don't have passion in your field, change fields, change your major, but have passion in what you do, because that also is contagious to those students and friends around you.
Okay, moving along. Now to Mr. Bailey, same question being posed, right? Certain things that are prevalent to our population here at El Paso Community College, and things that they face from their Latino culture, first-generation American, low socioeconomic status. What can you share to help them overcome these?
So I think the best place for me to start would be talking a little bit about my background and then bringing it to some other points about this experience that you're going through now. So I grew up in New York, like I mentioned before, and during my early years, I was fortunate enough to build friendships with individuals that were, in so many words, like-minded in terms of what they wanted to do with their life. We grew up in a neighborhood where our parents continuously said to us, college is the way to go. And as we went through all trials and tribulations as young men, we stayed connected and we made sure to support each other. And that really taught me a lot about what life's about. And for me, it starts with surrounding yourself with the right people. And that's true now. As you're going through this college experience, you want to continue to surround yourself with the right people, and the right people being those that don't necessarily have the same career interests as you, but have the similar goals, moving forward, earning degrees, earning a job, developing a career. You want to surround yourself with those individuals because you need that support network in order to be successful. There's no way that you can move through life by yourself and be successful, in my opinion. And having, others mention mentors. And so I'm looking at it more from a peer-to-peer relationship level. You have to find those people that are going to support you through those rough times, those people that are going to push you when you really don't want to push yourself. And so developing that core network of individuals, both male and female, of all different types of backgrounds, I think is really essential. As it relates to the college experience, though, I think it's really important that you embrace this moment. Embrace the opportunities. It was mentioned before by Dr. Serrata, your money is paying for your education, right? Everything that you see around you, your money is paying for. Take advantage of that. Engross yourself in this environment because it has so much to offer you. There are individuals that come to work Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday in some cases, who are here to help you. Take advantage of those moments. Embrace it and build those networks. Learn more about yourself throughout this experience. Don't simply just go to class, take in information, and go home. Go to class, take in the information, come into a building like this, and learn with others, right? Take advantage of the programs that are here on campus. Everything that my office does at UTEP is to help students better understand who they are, what they believe, what they value, what they're good at, right? Identifying those assets, identifying those areas where they need to grow. And we always encourage the students to just find a way to create a pathway through our union building because that's where a lot of the programs are happening. Because by that level of involvement, you really are going to learn not just about yourself, but a whole lot about other people. And a part of success in any career is knowing about others as much as you know about yourself. So take advantage of these opportunities and learn more about yourself. Continue to meet new people. Build this network. It is great to create mentoring network relationships, no question about it. But the people sitting next to you most likely will be the people that you tap into later down the line when maybe you're looking to start a business or you're looking to get a job. So don't overlook the peer networks that are available to you here on campus. Continue to meet new people and latch on to those people that, again, are the right people, the ones that are really going to push you ahead. Move around if you have the opportunity. I was fortunate enough not to have to worry about being a parent when I was 18 years old. And so I took advantage of the opportunity, left my home, and went 4 states away to the state of Maryland. Again, not knowing anyone. I'm glad I made that choice because it really exposed me to a whole new world. New York and Maryland are very, very different places, if you don't know. And so I had to learn a whole new culture. I had to learn a whole new environment. And by doing that, it gave me the courage to say one day in 2011 that moving to El Paso was okay, right? So I wasn't planning to come here, but I made the conscious choice to make a change in my life with my family to come here because I knew the opportunities would be great. I chose to move around. I know that's not always possible for folks, but if you have the opportunity, please take full advantage of that because your exposure to other communities teaches you a whole lot more than you could ever imagine. You're going to meet people that have no clue about what El Paso's about. So you're going to have the opportunity to share and educate. And at the same time, you're going to be able to find those commonalities in terms of what they're going through, whether it be in Dallas, whether it be in Arkansas, wherever you go. You're going to find out that we have a whole lot more in common than we have difference. And so moving around really will start to expose you. One of the big efforts at UTEP is focused on study abroad. So if you're coming to UTEP, be ready for that because we're going to start telling you that it's a great, great opportunity. Yes, there's a financial component to it, but if you find the means to make it happen and travel to another country, it's going to broaden your world in ways you can never imagine. So take advantage of moving around. By doing all that, you're not going to be a statistic. You're not going to fall into the stereotypes, right? You're going to break the myths. You're going to show that men and women from this region are incredibly intelligent, competent, able people. Take advantage.
Just a quick note for our guests on the panel that are not from the college, with the exception of Dr. Serrata. It's my understanding that El Paso Community College is the best place to start. Have you heard of that? Yeah. Have you heard of that? El Paso Community College is the best place to start. How about a round of applause for that? And once again, same question posed to Dr. Serrata regarding these specific challenges faced by our student population.
So a couple of things. I really appreciate Mr. Bailey talking about his background, and it's important to realize that as well. So as far as I can go back, fourth generation American on one side, Texan on one side, third generation on the other, as far as I can go back. So didn't have to deal with that, but many that do, in particular in today's society, we certainly understand the challenge. Low socioeconomic factors, absolutely. I'm first generation college student. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. So I'm the first to go away. Was raised by a single mom for a large part of my life until I was a junior in high school. And that's when my mom remarried. Stepfather, great role model, great influence in my life, was my best man at my wedding, etc. And then let's talk a little bit about stereotypes. In particular, this Latino stereotype with regards to an apathy towards the value of higher education. Now, this is one that over time has been shown and been busted, you know, the myth busters, the stereotypes. So what happens is the population and the culture actually embraces education. It's usually first amongst the Hispanic culture of what's important. Education is the most important, followed by jobs. The key is when you're first generation, and the Hispanic population has the lowest educational attainment level. Only about 15% of the population nationally has a baccalaureate degree. And so what you're seeing is, it's not so much that we don't value education. So my parents, obviously Latino, they valued education. They wanted me to go. What happened is they didn't understand higher education, and they couldn't help me in my struggles in higher education. And I struggled tremendously. So those things are part of what we have to look for. So that's many of the initiatives as a VP of Student Affairs that I tried to implement, because all the things that our students, that you in the audience experience, the barriers, the hardships, I experienced them. I just was 400 miles away from home. And so I wanted to implement initiatives and strategies that would help students take advantage and help them be successful. Did I hold students' hands? Some accuse that I did. But I never went into the classroom and took tests for them. That's their job. But when you're a first-generation college student, you don't understand the system of higher ed. I feel that we have a responsibility to help you be successful with regards to that. And so that's one of the key things, is that apathy it's really an understanding. And unfortunately, what the research shows is that lack of understanding actually impairs and can be a deficit. It's not that the family doesn't understand, but it becomes things like, why are you so stressed? You're just going to college. Don't, and not understanding, oh, you're only in college you're only in class 12 hours a week. So you have all those other hours that you can work, that you can contribute. And those are important things. And our students don't work because they want to work. They work because they have to work. So what I'd say is that look at the investment. You're investing in yourself. You're investing in the future of your respective family, as Mr. Cintron said. You're investing in what your children will be able to do. Part of this country's allure was that the American dream. And I still believe strongly in the American dream, but I also look at the data and the research. And right now in this country, if you're born in the lowest socioeconomic quartile, your likelihood to stay in that quartile is very high, very high. So the key to get out of that, just like us, the key to get out of that is through education, but it's very difficult, and I get it. And so, again, take advantage of the services that are available to you. It is not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It's actually a sign of strength. And part of the culture, the gender of being male, as well as the culture, is not asking for help. And you've got to change that. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength to say, I don't understand this, to speak to your faculty member, to go up. They want to help. If you don't go and ask them for questions, they're not going to know that you don't understand the concept. Okay? And then explain what higher ed is to your families. In particular, if you're first generation like me, I could never call home and say, I can't figure out this calculus problem. But I never went to the tutoring center. I made mistakes, and I'm trying to make sure that our students prosper from the mistakes that I made. Don't make the same mistake. Go ask for that help. Go and utilize the services that you've paid for. And then once you get through, then help others. I agree wholeheartedly with that. Help your kids, help your neighbors, help your colleagues, help your friends, because this community will only prosper if each of you in the audience gets your degrees and moves forward. So yes, the best place to start, the best place to finish what you start, and then start over at UTEP, and then finish that degree and move forward. And it's very self-serving. I'm very passionate about what we do, but it's self-serving. One day I would like to retire. It's a long way from now. I have a 6-year-old, so it's a long way from now. But when that day comes, the only way I can retire is if you all in the audience are paying into my retirement system. So I'm counting on you all to pay into my retirement system so that I can retire, and then the same goes for you all. Eventually you will want to get there. So you have to break these stereotypes. The culture is very clear. We want our kids to go to school. We don't understand what that means. And so we have a responsibility at the college to help explain that. To explain it, partnering with the chamber, who we do FAFSA nights with, because if you need to be on financial aid, you should take advantage of that. Partnering with the chamber to help our community do that. Partnering with UMC so that students can get into clinicals, our nursing students and others, so they can learn about the field. Partnering with UTEP, because if you don't want to finish with an associate's degree, you go on into the university and get your baccalaureate or your graduate degree and continue to move forward. So it is, when you're first generation, it's hard. When you're low socioeconomic status, it's hard, but it has to be done. And we're here to help.
Thank you.
Aval, can I just touch on something?
Yes, of course.
Something, Dr. Serrata just said something that really touched the nerve with me, which I'm very appreciative of. And I think it was said also by Mr. Cintron about helping others. I think it's really important to also say, like, moments like today, you all are taking in information. You're writing it down, or you're typing it on your phone, or you're just kind of packing it away in your mind. Don't hold on to that information. Pass it on to someone else. This is a core message that we pass on in my office. Don't be selfish with what you learn, right? Help the person next to you. So if you have a friend that couldn't make it today, make sure to set up a lunch appointment maybe and sit down and say, you know what, this is what I learned. Or, as you're meeting new people, pass on the information, because that's the only way we're all going to grow together.
Thank you. I won't put a student on the spot right now, but prior to the forum beginning, he came up to me and he actually confessed how he struggles with these issues. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a student here at EPCC, And, it's a lot on his plate. So how can they overcome this balance of responsibilities?
Well, it's not easy. As I mentioned before, I started college when I was already married. Had my first son as I was nearing the end of my bachelor's degree. And then was going through graduate school when I was, a father of 3 boys, for a time even a single parent of 3 boys. And so it wasn't easy. It was, you got to take care of your responsibilities. So as a husband, as a father, you've got to work. And for me, it was working 40 hours a week, and then trying to fit in that, going to class, and then knowing you'd have to get home and make sure that, the kids were settled and their homework done and clothes pressed, and then stay up late and do homework. And it was hard. And I'll tell you, and it's funny, I've had hard situations where there was a hard class, as Dr. Serrata mentioned, not, being a first generation going to college, not knowing who to go to for help, you sort of forge on your own. And today I look back on that, and those are the times I cherish the most, because it took so much, it tested me. And somehow, some way I got through it, and those are the times that, I think, man, it was so hard and attaining that it made it worthwhile. If you felt like you did something special, that it tested you and you came away with it. If you're married, first and foremost is to have an understanding spouse. It's not easy. Your spouse will have to forego going out to the movies or enjoying dinner or hanging out with the friends if you're busy studying, especially if you're getting ready for your midterms. Sometimes it's bringing friends over to the house till late at night studying together. It's not easy when you're having to decide, enroll for tuition and pay my books, but the car needs a repair job, or I've got to make my rent payment. It's not easy if you have children that, I've got to help them or get them, go to their events, or help, if a baby's crying and you've got to help too, you got to carry your load there. It's not easy. And so, my first recommendation is get school done first before you get married and before you have children. But for many of us, it's not like that. I mean, that's the reality. Use what's available to you. If you have a spouse, show that person how you appreciate their work. Make sure that you schedule time for that person, that they don't feel neglected and then maybe become resentful. Make sure that your children know that you appreciate them and that you're doing this for them, to give them a better life and to set a pattern for them and to set an example for them. Avail yourself to your support group. It might be your family members. Let grandma or grandpa or, brother or sister look after the kids once in a while. They will enjoy it, and your children will enjoy it. Help strengthen that fabric of family. And if you have a challenge, and some of us have even more than that. It might be illnesses or debts or, an aging parent, and it's not easy. But if you can, you hold on to your faith, you hold on to your belief structure, you hold on to your family unit and your friends that can also be a great source of help, and you pull all that together, it is hard. I'm not going to lie to you. So you try to avoid being in that situation if you can, but many of us couldn't. And there were times when I'd be in school and, my kids were, I had to go after class, pick them up from daycare and get their clothes ready. I think one time I actually got a little worried because my mother called me and said she was going to do me a favor and move in with me to help me raise my 3 boys. And that scared me because my mom is tough. So I said, I think I'll manage. The thing is, you have a support group that's out there wanting you to succeed. Don't let these things get in the way of keeping you from advancing. I've gone through a lot of challenges in my life. And if it wasn't for the people that you care for being there with you, you might not have made it. So never isolate yourself. Instead, use your network of family and friends to help you advance. Keep your life in balance. What was the hardest semesters for me wasn't with the kids. It was maybe football season because you want to watch football. Be practical. Do what you can do, but don't let your time, which you cannot repeat or take back, waste it on things that don't add value to you. Yes, it's hard, but for a few years only. And once you get past that, you will appreciate the decisions you made. So that's how you do it. I mean, and there's no easy way. You can't park the kids somewhere for a few years. You can't hold the pause button and finish what you've got to do. It is what it is. But you know what? In our careers and in our lives, we'll face other challenges that'll be just as tough, if not tougher. I look back at my challenges and I think, you know, as bad as they were, they made me who I am today. And I look back actually with fondness that I was able to make it through there. You feel, maybe it's survivor's feeling of some sort. You just feel like you made it through, and don't take some of these things you got to do so serious, because some of the things that as a young person I thought were very serious to me, later on you realize, you know, I was worrying about something that really wasn't that major. So don't blow things out of proportion. Don't panic, stay calm. There's counseling services here that you could avail yourself, where people can give you some practical ideas on what to do. If you miss work or school because of work, or because of illness, talk to your instructors. Be surprised how they may be willing to work with you in a situation to just stay whole. Don't take the easy path and just start dropping classes and you know, not studying enough where you just give up on yourself. You cannot do that. The majority of men graduating college among Hispanics is very low. And we are the ones that can make that change. And it can only happen, one, if you graduate, and two, that you help others as well.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to the third and final phase of the questioning. That's the third category, and I labeled it the outlook. Basically, what the future holds for the college-going population. And I'm going to be asking a question to all the members in the panel, but this one particular question is going to go to Mr. Dayu, and it's number 8 on the list, and it goes like this. What global issues may present barriers to academic success for the student population at hand?
First of all, I'm not all-seeing and I'm not all-knowing. So some of the information I give you, I hope is helpful. It's certainly personal perception, but I think it's a valid question to be asking, because if you think over the last decade, 2 decades ago, the challenges we face today, we never would have imagined 20 years ago we would be facing. Of course, in the environment we're in today, I think maybe the headline, the umbrella category might be classified as geopolitical. Almost everything that we're dealing with in the news on a daily basis, every day in, day out, month in, month out, and it seems to be further exacerbated by what's happening since the elections we had in November, the challenges we face now with so many hotspots across the planet, thrust us into environments that perhaps none of us even considered we'd be facing even just a few years ago. I mean, this weekend, there was concern we might be facing a World War III with North Korea. How does that play into the challenges you face in your careers? Think about what's going on with Mexico and our partnership, our phenomenal, successful partnership for 25 plus years with Mexico since NAFTA. And now that environment's being revisited. There is a stream of consciousness that's being pursued now that comes under the heading of nationalism, or worse, protectionism. And what does that mean to the job opportunities in the United States? If we were, without getting into too long of a debate over this issue, some of the decisions that are being made by the leaders in the nation and by leaders of other nations as it relates to trade and the economy will have impacts on job opportunities in the U.S. and abroad. If there are job losses from those that we rely on who are coming here to work from abroad because of the job opportunities and suddenly are unable to do so, will we be able to backfill those job opportunities? Will we be prepared as an education component within our population to then fill those jobs? And if the answer is yes, so much the better for us. If the answer is no, we could suddenly begin to see what's happening across the U.S. As an example, just 5 years ago, the state of Texas was ranked #1 in almost every category for trade across the U.S. and across the planet. We had every opportunity, and we were taking advantage of it. We've gotten a little complacent in Texas, in some parts because of the decisions being made by our state legislature. This is political. I'll get my wrist slapped, I'm sure, somewhere over saying this, but we're investing. While we're saying we're open for business and we want to grow our economy and we're here to take advantage of every chance we can to recruit companies to Texas, that's one side of our mouth. On the other side, we're investing less in education, we're investing less in workforce training, and we're putting up obstacles for our educational institutions, including our community colleges and our universities, by making it more difficult for them. How? By passing on the burden of paying for that education, not through the state, the way it's supposed to be paid for, but the local level, which means what? Tuition increases, which just adds a burden to you and to your families. These are challenges that we face that we need to be paying attention to, because it will no doubt challenge us in the future. Thank you.
What do you think are the biggest challenges that men face today, and how will that affect them, time to come? And I guess we'll start with Mr. Bailey here to my left.
The biggest challenges. Since I work at a university, I'll answer it from this perspective. There's a myth out there that men are failing on college campuses, and I call it a myth because success is a subjective, it has a subjective meaning in terms of everyone measures it differently. If you look at the statistics, I'll use GPAs. If you look at the GPA statistics, there is growing evidence that women are performing at a higher level in the classroom than men. But that doesn't mean that men are failing. That means that men have some work to do. And so I think that's one of the bigger challenges, is overcoming the stereotype, again, that men are failing on college campuses. I think another challenge that college men typically face or deal with is lack of vulnerability. It was mentioned before in terms of, the message was make sure to seek out assistance, make sure to ask for help, make sure to fall back on your networks so that you can get through those tough times. Well, that takes a certain level of vulnerability. You have to, one, be in touch with yourself and say, okay, I need help. And then be willing to take that step to get the help. And I think through my experience that there are a number of men on college campuses that are not willing to do that. So there's a lack of vulnerability. Keeping with the notion of vulnerability, it's also, identifying where your skills are in terms of what you still need to work on. Don't feel like you know everything, because you don't. None of us do. So be willing to invest in yourself. I love the word investment, and it was used before, because I think it's really important to look at this experience as an investment. Well, you have to have a certain level of vulnerability to do that. You have to put yourself out there. You have to make sure that you have a good understanding of yourself so that you know where you need to grow. I think, some of the other bigger challenges, and it depends on the communities that you grow up in. If you're African American, Latino, if you're a man of color, you know that one of the biggest challenges, regardless of where you are, is racism, right? It's prejudice, it's discrimination, and that hasn't gone anywhere. That exists on every college campus, across the nation, just to be real about it. And it exists in the real world, as we all know. And so that's a huge challenge to overcome that we're all facing as men of color, because we have to continue to break down those stereotypes that are said about us and are used against us. But going back to the college message, because that's really where I started. Again, it's those two things. I believe there's a notion of failing that we need to overcome, and then this notion of vulnerability and being in touch with oneself.
Thank you. Mrs. Introne, if you could provide us your input on that.
Well, some of the challenges are, first and foremost, probably, the biggest challenge is ourselves, that we limit our potential because we limit what we think we can do. We hold back on our ability. We sell ourselves short. We don't think we're good enough or strong enough or financially strong enough, and we sell ourselves short. Don't do that. The second challenge is going to be economic. Somebody's got to pay for it, and it's always hard. Take advantage of whatever program you can get. Do your best. Getting a degree, you think, well, I could be working somewhere and earning X. You get your degree, and what you would have been making in that time that you would have spent in school, you'll probably make up in the first year or two of your life, your professional life, after getting college, just simply because you're getting paid more for a specialized skill set. The other challenge is going to be, the culture. Believe in yourselves and don't feel like you don't want to be different from your friends, or that we want something too fast. The millennials today, we want it now. We don't have time to pay the dues or learn, and trust me, it happens even with doctors we recruit at UMC or when I was at Del Sol. They don't want to pay the dues. They want weekends off. They want the same pay as the physician that's been working there for many, many years, and it's just not like that. It's hard, and so you got to pay your dues and earn the skill set, learn it and master it. Don't think you can just get by with a quick abbreviated app that's going to help you get there. You've got to learn your field and be a skilled person. I tell my kids, think of it as if you're a Jedi. You're not just going to get the lightsaber and say, well, I'll just give it 30 minutes and I'll be an expert. You've got to master your skill. And remember, sort of to what Richard was saying earlier, our competition isn't just El Paso, it's global. It's global. There are people coming into this country that are ready to take the job you want, and they're even willing to do it for less. Some that have worked really hard, that have come from really bad situations, and they're trying to escape that to get here. The economy is global. A lot of these organizations today have offices all over the world, have activities all over the world. And so it's not unusual for me to hear of an El Pasoan being, working in Asia, working in Europe and other places, and we have to be flexible to do that. How many of you can do a lot of your shopping and other things from home just from your computer? Well, there are a lot of people that are working from home for organizations, and they're telecommuting. So there's all those challenges, but only you can make the decision to take those challenges on and make something of yourself. I believe in my culture. I believe in my city. I see many people around me that have done very well, that I never thought when I knew them in school would get far, and have done even way better than any of us sitting at this table. Some that are running corporations that are some of the largest in the country, from El Paso. Some of us may feel, well, I have a language barrier. I don't speak English well. Trust me, in a global economy, it's good that you know Spanish and English, and if you could throw in some Mandarin Chinese, that's even better. So take advantage of the things that make you different, because those are things that are advantages somewhere else. So don't give up on yourselves. Use us and others as examples, not just because, they sat at the table, but, call us, ask us, hey, how can I do better? My office number is 521-7600. If any of you need any help or want to just pick somebody's brain, call me, 521-7600. We all have stories that go above and beyond, and things that we've learned just through life. But if you feel like you need some guidance, or you just want to know what to do, we can't tell you what to do, but we can tell you what we've done, and learn from those that have been ahead of you, so that you can follow a path that you forge for yourself, and one day you'll also be helping others that are following you.
And as the Chinese would say in Mandarin, 谢谢. Okay, moving along with the same question to Dr. Serrata. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So a couple of things. I'm going to talk about not just the challenges facing men today, but also what we're looking at 5 to 10 years from now as well. And I'm going to merge those two. So what we're seeing in today's society, I certainly appreciate everything that each of the panelists has brought to the table and shared with you. It's a knowledge society, and it's becoming more and more of a knowledge society. So the kinds of jobs that we used to have, you heard about Mr. Dayub and his dad would not only work those jobs during the day, but then come home and be a mechanic in the evening. Those kinds of jobs are quickly dissipating. It's a situation where it is so much of a knowledge society. And those of y'all that come to the college, and if you're looking at automotive, you don't even touch the vehicle until the computer tells you what's wrong with the vehicle. And so it's really a different game. So think about the depths of the Great Recession that we just experienced, really beginning in 2009. It really hit Texas in 2011. So since those depths of the Great Recession, there's been 11.6 million new jobs added to the economy. Okay, new jobs. 11.5 million of those jobs, 99% of them went to people with degrees and certificates. Only 80,000 jobs across the nation, not in El Paso, not in Texas, across the nation, went to individuals with a high school diploma or less. It's the only pathway to the middle class, is through higher education. I'm passionate, this is the why, but more importantly, it's how it affects you. So what I heard, I was just at a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and what they're saying, so the number one job for males in our country, anyone take a guess? Number one job for males in our country? Truck driving. Right now, that's number one. And so the projections are that in 10 years, all those jobs will be gone because self-driving vehicles. All those rigs, I think it'll take longer, but it is in the future. It'll be in our lifetimes for sure. That the number one job for males is truck driving, and that job's gonna go away. So what do we do with all those individuals that are doing that now? You gotta have a degree or certificate. You have to have lifelong learning. It's not gonna be changing. You have to be able to adapt, come back and get the skills that you need. It doesn't mean that everyone has to get a graduate degree. It doesn't even mean necessarily that everyone has to get a bachelor's, but you gotta get a certificate, gotta get an associate. I prefer that you go on and get that bachelor's degree. So I think those are the challenges that we're looking at, is that this is the only pathway to the middle class, and you have to be understanding this whole concept of it's really not a career ladder, it's a career lattice. So I'm going up and I gotta shift, and then I go up and I shift the other way, because that's what society now demands of us. And so all of us are here, certainly appreciate, I wrote down Mr. Centron's number, I'll be calling him later for medical advice. But we're all here to help, and you have so many members in this audience. I see Dr. Amaya, I see Mr. Lerma, I see Dean Primovich. They're all here to help you. Faculty members that are here to help, role models, again, they're not all gonna be Latino. I agree, many of the role models I had, most of them were not Latino. So look for whoever's willing to help and take advantage of that. And everyone on stage, Mr. Arvizo included, we're willing to help. Ms. Chavez is willing to help. Take advantage of those things and understand that those challenges aren't going away. So we have to work together to facilitate those and to overcome those challenges. I know that you're going to turn it to the audience, and I look forward to questions. So thank you.
Thank you. In all fairness to Mr. Dayub, I don't want to challenge him with another question, but I will give him last word if there's anything else you would like to add.
A last word.
Yes, sir.
That's a dangerous thing to do with me. Actually, I do have one statement I would add. I think in some way or another, each of the members of the panel have shared this with you without specifically saying it. But I would close with this. Do not let anyone else define who you are. Don't let anyone else decide for you who you will be, how you will be. Only you can do it, and spurn anyone who tries to define for you what you are qualified to do. That'd be my closing comment.
Thank you. Well, I hope that you walk away with some positive information shared by our distinguished guests. How about one round of applause one more time? At this point, we're going to open it up to Q&A from the audience members. So if you have a specific question that wasn't covered specifically and you would like to ask that of the panel, feel free to do so. We have a microphone there in the center.
Well, I would say that whenever I go anywhere, any restaurant, any place for any kind of service, I always ask the person that's taking care of me if they're younger, if they're in school. Are you in college? And if they are, I ask them what they're studying and how far they are in their program and what are their plans. I've given them my card if they're, for example, going to graduate in a health-related field. I will tell you that a lot of times the businesses may be led by people that themselves may not have a college education or are more focused in, I've got to just make ends meet. Look, small businesses are being challenged with increased taxes, increased expenses. At the same time, really a lot of competition that forces them to focus on product. I think in part it may be reaching out to a lot of these small business owners and some franchises and saying, what can we do as a group together to be able to help those be able to benefit more? To a business, whether it's two people working 20 hours a week or one person working 40 hours a week, it's the same rate. So could there be some way in an alignment with other organizations and educational organizations that would allow for some flexibility for those that are students to be able to have that flexibility of being able to focus on their education? Sometimes I've thought, can businesses offer, everything is online nowadays, access in some space where they could do their homework and access online services? How many students may not even have the ability to connect to the internet at home? And so they have to go to public places like the Starbucks to connect. How many ways could an owner of a small business encourage rather than discourage someone from pursuing a better career? I think if I'm a small businessman and I want someone to benefit, I'll give them more hours because they'll make more money. Well, sometimes with our younger people, that may be the worst thing you could do because it keeps them away from school. I hired someone that was part-time, that wanted to go full-time early in my career, and I did it. And he never went back to finish his degree. And to this day, when I see him, I feel bad for that. And so there's different ways, whether it be partnering with local businesses and how we can, as a network, help out for those that are working those extra hours to make sure we're not helping them, but in a way not realizing we're actually hurting them. It might be partnering with other institutions and organizations. I also, at my place, if someone is a nurse with an associate's degree, we encourage them to get their baccalaureate. If they've got a baccalaureate, we ask them, well, how soon are you going to get your master's? Today, if you want to advance, sometimes a doctorate, nurse practitioners. We do that with every field, but we got to believe in it. And so part of the challenge is we got to get all these business owners to believe in it and to see how it will benefit them as well, to get everybody on pulling in the same direction to help our younger generation to achieve.
Thank you.
Before he left the panel, Dr. Serrata instructed me to respond to this. I always do what Dr. Serrata tells me to do. That's actually a very good question. So by show of hands, how many of you have heard yet of the 60 by 30 initiative for Texas? I see a lot of heads nodding. And Dr. Serrata and I serve on the Collaborative for Academic Excellence hosted by Dr. Natalicio at UTEP. And this coming Thursday, we're having our State of Education. Among the panelists will be Dr. Serrata and Dr. Natalicio. But there is an expanded version of that that's a special, if you will, derivative. It's called 60 by 30 El Paso. And the goal is to have the working population ages 25 to 35 to have some sort of post-secondary certification degree, a community college degree, a university degree, a certification at one of the technical colleges, etc., by by the year 2030. That is just some 13 years roughly away from where we are. That's a great goal to have. The challenge we face is that if we depend just on the pipeline of our students coming out of our school systems and to get into post-secondary, we have a very difficult road ahead of us to complete it. The other element of that is to complete education, is to get those who are already in the workforce to get back to school, complete their education. And to do that, we need support from the employers across our community and across our state. We're actually launching an initiative as part of the Collaborative's 25th anniversary to educate and inform the employers across our community to give their employees a chance to complete that education. If that means a little bit more time off, if that means helping them with their tuition or providing them a loan that they can repay after they complete their education. Whatever it takes in those unique environments for those employers. And this initiative is actually getting the great deal of help from Terry McGrean with ADP. ADP, one of the most successful employers in our community and across the country, but very committed to our education system. And they're getting supported by Prudential and Charles Schwab and other organizations across our community. And believe it or not, one of the pipelines for helping us to get that completed is our own public school systems, many of whom have a wide array of employees who could, are not teachers and they're not administrators, and could help them to complete their education and provide us then the pipeline that we need to succeed.
I have students who are working 40 hours a week. And if you think about it, that's a lot for a student with a full load. In a perfect ideal world, students would not need to work. They could just devote themselves to their academics. But in the El Paso world, as we know, there's a vast number of students who do need to work, and that's an issue they'll need to face and work with. Thank you, Robert. Can you please give Robert a round of applause? And by the way, I hear that you're a great professor. Thanks. Congratulations. Are there any other members in the audience who would like to pose a question from our distinguished guests?
No, but I heard enough of it, and hopefully I understood it. But when I was starting college, all of my student friends had already graduated college if they had gone. And so I'm an older person in class with a lot of younger people. Being out of school 5 years, I forgot a lot. And so, I thought I would remember a lot of things and I didn't. So sometimes my grades were a little tough. And, I grew up thinking that, like I said, my goal in life was maybe one day get a job in construction. If I could earn $100 a week, I would be set. If maybe I could buy a used car and maybe one day, be able to rent a decent place. We didn't own a car till I was a junior in high school, and it was a clunker of a car. And so, yeah, I never thought that I would really amount to much. And I did have low self-esteem. And so all I would say there is don't. As you started taking classes and you start getting proficient in them, and all of a sudden, you're doing well in these classes. And, it doesn't happen just through osmosis. You study, hit the study groups, surround yourself with students. And all of you that are students know if you have a study group, the guys that aren't carrying their weight, that are riding your coattails to sort of get their A, and the ones that are reaching out. Develop good study groups with people that are just as focused as you are. And once you start seeing, your grades get better and you're starting to get A's and B's and your GPA is up, you begin to realize, I can do this. And when you find that some of your classmates are asking you for advice, that also makes you feel like you can do this. And so the best way to avoid, or overcome low self-esteem is, one, you've got to change how you see yourself. Picture yourself as how you're going to be in the future, not how you are today. Secondly, don't surround yourself with people that'll take away from your esteem by making you feel worse than what you really are, or that'll load you down and confirm when you're struggling at your lowest point that they're saying, I could have told you weren't going to be successful. You want to associate yourself with people that are going to drive you and push you to be more successful. And in time, you will believe in yourself, and that self-esteem becomes stronger, and you become more confident. You don't think of yourself as, I don't deserve to be here. We deserve to be here. We deserve to be at our best. In any corporate office, in any specific field, you deserve to be there. You've earned the right. And you earn the right by studying hard and excelling and earning your way there. And no one can take that away from you. And when you get to that point, you not only will have overcome your low self-esteem, you'll be able to use your esteem to help others also go through some of the challenges. Yeah, we start off poor. We start off maybe not that smart. We start off struggling. And we have all kinds of obstacles. And many of you have obstacles that don't even compare to what we have. They're much worse. But I will tell you, what I have found in my career is that those that suffered the hardest, that had the most difficult challenges, that never thought they'd get anywhere, are your best employees. And you know why? Because through adversity, they become strong. And then when you see sometimes people that may have had their education paid for and didn't have to work and could afford to change majors and flunk a few classes because the parents were going to cover for them, they're the ones that struggle in the real world. Those that fought adversity, that came from the worst of the worst, they know how to fight. They know how to survive, and their esteem might have been low in the beginning, but now they're warriors, and they will get you to your next level. So don't let anybody take it away from you. Don't you convince yourself in your mind you're not good enough. If you're here in any class, you've earned the right to be there. You're more than good enough.
Thank you.
I'm just going to follow up on it. That was great advice. I think from my perspective, it's very similar. I'm blessed to have a very loving and supportive wife. And, obviously at one point in my life, I made a choice to become involved in her life and she in mine. And as time has gone on, we have become each other's best friend, best support. And so I guess my message on that one goes back to what I said earlier and Mr. Centron just said about surrounding yourself with the right people. Because at the end of the day, those are the individuals that are going to feed you the energy that you need to see yourself maybe in a different way when maybe your esteem is a little bit lower than it should be. So surround yourself with people that you know that you can trust to give you the energy and support that you need to grow. The other thing that I think is important is to embrace the success that you achieve. I sometimes do this to myself where I don't let the moment sink in. So I'll use an example. When Mr. Lerma reached out to me to be on this panel and then I saw the list, I was like, okay, well, I'm not a president of a university, I'm not a CEO, but it was my wife who said, but you've done something in your life and you're a great role model. And, I'm almost 40. And so, I still have these moments where, I'm like, wow, did I really, was that something that I really should have been given? And in this particular case, first and foremost, thank you, Mr. Lerman, for allowing me to be up here. But I've embraced it. When I drove up today, I was like, you know what? I have arrived in some ways in my career, and I deserve this moment. And so my message to you is allow that to sink in, because that'll feed your esteem. And then lastly, take a chance, because you never know when you'll succeed. You never know what will come of that. And those are sometimes some of the best moments to build your self-esteem, when you take a chance and next thing you know, you're in a place that you never thought. I took a chance coming to El Paso. I could have stayed in Maryland, where I was living at the time. I did not necessarily believe I was ready to be a director of a department that I'm a part of now, but I took that chance, and now I'm sitting on a panel with such esteemed colleagues that have done great things. And so you could be me one day in this regard. So please take those chances.
Okay. Ms. Michelle Chavez.
I think it would be sort of what you said is, your family. I mean, when you look at whatever it is we do for a living, that's just to provide a way of sustenance for us. I like my job. I like that, more than the graphs or spreadsheets, you're helping people get better. And sometimes when you visit a patient that has hope, or a family that are thankful because their family member, survived some horrible health issue or catastrophe, it makes you feel good about the team you're surrounded with that really are amazing caregivers. But you know, to me, my personal goal is always do my job well and be proud of what I do, but always to, you know, look after, you know, that at the end, you know, my family or the people that know me, you know, at some point my life will come to an end, that they'll remember me not for the spreadsheets or whatever, but that I was a good person. You know, we do have our spouses to be very proud of. You know, my wife, Teresa, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. These are your cheerleaders that believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself. These are the people that will sacrifice to give you that opportunity to reach out. And so whether it be, you know, my wife or my children, I want them to be proud of what I've done, that I've been able to teach them and instill in them a lesson in life on how to be, you know, good members of society, good fathers, good mothers, good sisters and husbands and wives and all of that. So to me, that's my personal goal. I want to be a good person.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that was very well said by Mr. Cintron. So, you know, this morning I started my day at Loma Verde Elementary, and I spoke to 2 classes, to a 5th grade class and to a kindergarten class. It's career week at Loma Verde Elementary School. And so the best part of that, so I want to be appreciated for helping facilitate others' success. Really, that's my role. It's not about me or any of those. It's really facilitating others' success. But the reason I started my day at Loma Verde Elementary School is because my oldest son is a 5th grader and my youngest is in kindergarten. And so those were the 2 classes that I spoke to this morning, because my wife's very good about reminding me, you speak at lots of different events. You will speak at your son's class's career day. And so I do what I'm told, Mr. Dayub. When it all comes down to it, as proud as I am to be a part of El Paso Community College and what we do at the institution and the role that I help at the institution, I'm most proud of being a father. And so I want to make sure that my boys have the opportunity and that I help them be successful. So I have nearly 30,000 students that we're trying to facilitate their success. But I go home to 2 little boys that I want to make sure that I facilitate their success in life and that I'm a role model for them and help them reach the aspirations and goals that they've set forth. And as long as they're happy and they're passionate about what they do, you know, so they don't have a choice. I'm first generation. They don't have a choice. They will go to college. Their choice is where will they go to college after they finish their associate's degree at EPCC. That's the choice that they have. But that's what I want to be appreciated for, is that I've been a good father and a good husband.
Mr. Dayu, would you like to finish off?
I think anything I'd say almost would be repetitive, but I think there's probably 2 things just to Dr. Serrata's comments. First and foremost, any parent, I think, wants to be remembered, any good parent for sure, wants to be remembered for having raised a family, taught them the right values, and encouraged them to then contribute back to their community, to their country, and their families as they begin their own, and provide them a pathway that's based on ethics, morals, and a guiding light. On a professional side, I think I can share this with our panel, because I think they all feel the same way. Always feel that whatever you're going to do, that you're going to do as good as you can, so that whatever you've done, whatever organization you've touched, is better for your efforts than when you began.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for being here. I want to say that I'm proud as an El Pasoan, as an educator, and as director of the diversity program for the leadership that you show as men here to our students and to the community. I'm very proud of each and every one of you to say that you are leaders in our community. Thank you.